The late summer heat shimmered above the Arizona plain, turning every distant shape into a ghost. Elena Vargas wiped sweat from her brow as she hauled a bucket from the well beside her small adobe homestead. The world was quiet, too quiet, until the wind shifted. A horse approached, slow, unsteady. Her fingers tightened around the bucket's handle as she scanned the pale horizon. Riders didn't usually come alone, not in this country where Apaches, drifters, and opportunists moved in shadows. But this figure slumped in the saddle was no threat. He was barely holding on. The man rode into the yard, swaying. An Apache, tall, broad-shouldered, his braids dusty, his face drawn tight with exhaustion. But it was the bundle strapped to his chest that made Elena's breath hitch. A baby, crying, weakly. The warrior slid from the horse and collapsed to one knee. He didn't reach for a weapon. Didn't bark demands. He lifted the infant with trembling hands and held him out as if offering his own heart. "Milk," he rasped. "Please, woman, milk." Elena froze. She knew this man, Talon, a scout from the nearby Apache band. She had treated a wound for him once, months back, when he'd stumbled into her homestead bleeding after a skirmish. He had spoken little then, too. But she remembered his loyalty to his people, remembered that he never asked for anything. Yet now he begged. She took a step forward, then another, the instincts of a healer rising above fear. The baby's tiny face was gray with hunger, eyes unfocused. Elena's chest tightened. She had lost her own child 3 years ago during a bitter winter, and though she could not nurse anymore, she had jars of goat milk cooling on the shelf inside. "Come in," she whispered. Talon hesitated, as if crossing her threshold meant crossing a boundary no warrior should. Then his legs buckled, and Elena hurried to catch the baby before he fell. The infant fit into her arms as though he had always belonged there. She rushed him inside while Talon crawled to the doorway, refusing to collapse until he knew the child was safe. Elena fed the baby drop by drop, her hands shaking, but not from fear. From something else, something like purpose. When the baby finally slept, Talon whispered a single word before darkness claimed him. "Mother." Elena didn't know if he meant himself, or her. If you are still with me, friend, I hope you hit the subscribe button, so you do not miss what happens next. Grab a cup of tea or coffee. Settle. And tell me in the comments what time it is for you right now. And where you're listening from. The wind carried the scent of pine and cold river water as Elena stood frozen in her doorway, the weight of the infant warm against her chest. The Apache warrior didn't move, not a twitch of his hand, not a shift of his stance. He remained where he was, soaked from rain, his long black hair clinging to his shoulders, his breath ragged like he'd run through half the mountains to get here. Elena tightened her arms around the baby. "She's hungry," the warrior said, voice low, strained. "She hasn't eaten in 2 days." Elena felt the child's tiny fists pushing weakly against her dress. The baby's eyes fluttered open, dark, unfocused, pleading for something she couldn't say out loud. Elena drew a slow breath. "Come inside, both of you." For a moment the warrior hesitated, suspicion cutting across his expression. He glanced at the open cabin behind her, at the wooden table she'd built herself, at the kettle steaming by the fire. Then his hard gaze softened, just a fraction. Enough. He stepped over the threshold. Inside, the warmth wrapped around them. Elena guided him toward the hearth. The warrior crouched beside it, clutching his child close. Only now, beneath the light, did Elena see the truth. He was injured. His forearm was wrapped in leather dark with dried blood, his movements stiff. Someone had hunted them, pushed them far from their people. "You're hurt," she said quietly. "It will heal." But the way he winced as he shifted said otherwise. Elena stepped forward, offering her arms. "May I?" He looked at her, not with the wild distrust most settlers imagined of Apache men, but with the reluctant vulnerability of a father who had nothing left to bargain with. Slowly, painfully slowly, he placed the baby into her arms. The child instantly nuzzled against Elena, searching. Elena sat on the edge of her bed, lifted the blanket, and let the infant feed. The warrior watched, not with shame, but with something close to awe. As though witnessing a miracle he had not dared hope for. The baby suckled desperately, greedily, strength returning with every breath. The warrior bowed his head. "You have saved her life," he whispered. And I cannot repay you. Elena looked up at him, her heartbeat steady and sure. You already did, she said gently. You came here asking for help. That's enough. Outside, the rain finally stopped, leaving only the quiet possibility of peace. Dawn bled over the distant mesas when the knock came again. Soft, hesitant, nothing like the desperate pounding from the night before. Sarah opened the cabin door to find the Apache warrior standing there once more, but this time he carried no weapon, no anger, no storm in his chest. Only gratitude. He bowed deeply, his long dark hair falling forward. Then he spoke in slow, careful English. My son lives, because of you. Sarah stepped outside, wrapping her shawl tight. She wasn't afraid anymore. Something inside her already understood. Whatever had begun last night had tied itself to the three of them. The warrior lifted the child gently, letting the morning light spill over the baby's face. No fever, no cry of hunger, only soft breaths and the heavy sleep of a child who finally had enough to eat. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. I only did what any mother would do, she whispered. The warrior shook his head. White women do not help my people. You, different, you brave. He hesitated, then touched his chest. I am Koda, his name is Ahanu. Sarah smiled faintly. I'm Sarah. Koda's gaze softened, understanding blooming. Sarah, mother heart. The words struck something deep in her, something she thought had vanished when her own child died 3 winters ago. Before she could speak, gunfire cracked in the distance. One shot, then another. Koda stiffened instantly, body tense as a bowstring. Soldiers, he whispered. They hunt me. They think I steal cattle. They want my son. Sarah's breath froze. Koda stepped closer. I go. If they find me here, they hurt you. What about the baby? She asked, panic rising. He needs to feed. Take him. The warrior placed Ahanu into her arms. If I die, he live. You raise him. The weight of the child in her arms felt like destiny made flesh. Koda? No. You come back. You must. Koda looked at her, the woman who had saved the only thing left in his world, and nodded once. I return if Sky allow. If not, his voice broke. Tell him his father a good man. Then he vanished into the rising sun, leaving Sarah with the baby, and a promise she felt in her bones. The soldiers arrived by mid-morning, dust rising behind their horses like a storm rolling in. Sarah felt her hands tremble, but she forced herself to stand tall as the men approached. Their commander halted, eyes scanning her homestead. Ma'am, we're tracking an Apache raider. Seen him? Sarah held Ahanu close, the baby tucked beneath her shawl. No, she said firmly. The commander's gaze sharpened. Tracks lead this way. Then they're old, she replied, chin lifting. Only tracks you'll find here are mine. He looked at the sagging barn, the small garden, the barren land stretching behind her, nothing of value, nothing to steal. Another soldier frowned. Ma'am, is that a baby? Ahanu stirred, but Sarah shifted, rocking him gently. My nephew, she lied. My sister fell sick. I'm caring for him a while. The commander nodded slowly. Ma'am, if that Apache circles back, you send word. He's dangerous. Sarah didn't blink. Most men with guns are. The commander stiffened, then tipped his hat and signaled the men onward. The thunder of hooves faded into the hills. Inside the cabin, Sarah let her knees shake. Let her breath finally come. Let the baby root against her shoulder, hungry and innocent. She sat in the rocker, lifted her shirt, and let him nurse. Your father will come back, she whispered. I know he will. But as the day dragged on, doubt crept in like cold. What if he never returned? And what if she was already falling in love with this child who wasn't hers? 2 days passed. No Koda. Sarah learned Ahanu's every sound, his small hiccups, his soft cries, the way he quieted when she hummed old ranch lullabies. But it was on the 3rd morning, when sunlight spilled across the floor, that Ahanu looked up at her and smiled. It was small, toothless, pure. But it broke her. She held him tight, tears slipping down her cheeks as memories of her lost daughter flooded her mind. Thank you, she whispered to him, for giving me this moment again. Ahanu cooed and reached for her face. He didn't know she was broken. He didn't know she was lonely. He only knew she was warm, soft, and fed him when he cried. In the quiet crackle of the cabin fire, Sarah made a choice. If Coda didn't return, she would raise his son as her own. Not out of obligation, but out of a love she never thought she'd feel again. At sunset, hoofbeats echoed across the ridge. Sarah stepped outside, heart pounding, and there he was. Coda rode in slowly, slumped in the saddle, blood staining his side. "Coda," she cried. He nearly fell when he dismounted, but she rushed forward, catching his weight. "I live," he murmured weakly. "Because I think of him. Because I think of you." She brought him inside, cleaned his wound, fed him broth, and placed Ahanu beside him. The baby clung to his father's finger instantly. Coda's eyes filled. "He not forget me." Sarah smiled softly. "Neither did I." Coda looked at her then, really looked. "You protect him. You protect me. Why?" "Because no family should suffer alone," she whispered. He reached for her hand. "You, part of our family now?" Her breath caught. But she didn't answer. Not yet. Coda healed slowly, strength returning in pieces. He worked around the homestead, repaired her fence, fetched water, even tried to help with the cooking, which resulted in 2 broken bowls and plenty of laughter. Ahanu grew stronger each day. And Sarah, she felt something blooming, slow, tender, dangerous. One night, Coda stepped beside her as she rocked Ahanu to sleep. "You give him love," he whispered. "Love he need. Love the first cannot give alone." "Coda?" He placed his hand over hers, warm and steady. "I want to stay," he said. "If you want." Her heart thudded. "Why?" "Because you save my son," he said softly, "and you save me." Coda built a cradle outside the cabin, a beautiful thing carved with Apache symbols. Sarah watched him work, his hands steady, his expression focused. "You made this, for him?" she asked. "For him," Coda said. "For us." Sarah touched the carved wood, feeling the careful love in every stroke. But the world was changing. Tensions between settlers and the Apache grew sharper each day. Soldiers rode more often. Neighbors whispered. "You can't stay forever," she said one night. "They'll come for you." Coda didn't flinch. "Then we leave, all 3. Her breath hitched. Leave? Everything she'd ever known? "It dangerous," Coda said. "But staying is danger too. You choose where your heart live." She looked at Ahanu sleeping between them, tiny hands curled into fists. And she realized. Her heart already knew. The soldiers returned at dawn. But this time they didn't knock. They stormed the homestead, rifles raised, voices sharp. Coda pushed Sarah and the baby behind him. "Don't," she begged. "They'll kill you." But Coda stood tall. "I know fight," he said to the commander. "I protect child. That all." The commander hesitated, just long enough for Sarah to step forward, chin raised. "This man saved his own son," she said. "I saved him too. If you shoot him here, then you'll have to shoot me first." A long, tense silence. Then the commander lowered his weapon. "Fine," he growled, "but you leave this valley. Today." Coda and Sarah exchanged a single, world-changing look. It was time. They left before sunset. Sarah packed only what she needed. The baby's cradle, a few blankets, a handful of memories that had shaped her. Coda walked beside the horse she rode. Ahanu cradled in her arms as the sky turned to violet. They did not speak at first. The world around them felt too big, too sacred for words. The wind carried the scent of pine. The distant thunder rolled low as if blessing their journey. At a quiet clearing near the river, they stopped to rest. Coda built a fire while Sarah nursed Ahanu, humming softly as he drifted to sleep. When she looked up, Coda was watching her, not with longing, not with fear, but with a deep, quiet reverence. "You are his mother," he said simply. Sarah's throat tightened. "And you are his father." Coda stepped closer, kneeling before her. "I ask you something big." Her breath caught. "What?" He took her hand gently, like holding something fragile and priceless. "Come live with my people. Not as prisoner, not as outsider, as family." Her heart fluttered. Family. A word she thought she'd never have again. "I don't know your language," she whispered. "I teach you. I don't know your ways. We learn together." She looked down at the sleeping baby, The child she had fed from her own body, the child whose tiny hand curled in her dress as if claiming her. She thought of the lonely winters, the empty bedroom where her daughter once slept, the ache she carried like a stone inside her. And suddenly she knew. She wasn't leaving her life behind. She was walking into a new one. She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. Yes, Coda, I'll come. The warrior's eyes softened. He touched his forehead to hers, a gesture of devotion in his people's way. You heart strong, he whispered. Stronger than any warrior. Sarah laughed through tears. Maybe, but only because you gave me hope again. Coda lifted Ahanu into his arms, holding the child between them like the sun that guided their paths. Together, they walked toward the distant mountains, mother, father, and child, three souls who had found each other on a night of desperation and discovered a love deeper than blood. A new home waited. A new story. A new family written by fate itself.